Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. We're just about more than halfway through the semester, and we're going to continue to look at fiction as we develop skills that will really help us open up the novel when we get to it. I wanted to make a quick video looking at close reading. Maybe we could take a closer look at young Goodman Brown and some of the things that are happening in that story. Okay, I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, but I'll be working off of the overall thesis statement, our main idea that Hawthorne is trying to show us that religious righteousness is really something that exists in the main character's mind and not necessarily in reality. It's something that's performed, but it contradicts the true quote-unquote natures of all the characters in the story. So to do this, I've got all the assembled materials here. I have my annotated text, my outline, and probably most importantly for this particular story, I have Wikipedia open so I can take a look at some of the references or allusions that Hawthorne makes. So from the very start, young Goodman Brown separates himself from the forest. He sees it as evil, as dark, as creepy, even though he has this unavoidable urge to go into it. He can't escape going into the forest. He sees those that are associated with the forest as evil. He suspects that the forest contains supernatural evil. The forest is pretty much described with generally gloomy, dark, evil terminology on the first page. And what really kind of frightens him most is that there might be people there that he cannot see, but yet they can see him. This gets to the next point that I hope to make, that young Goodman Brown is very much obsessed with his reputation or the way in which the world sees him and his people. Even though he is ostensibly meeting with the devil, he is very careful to say that he arrived on time and that he kept his commitment to meet in the forest. He assures the devil that his people, the Puritan people, are a people of prayer and good work to boot and abide no such wickedness, despite the fact that he had just been informed of some pretty wicked stuff that his people had done in the past. Later, he's concerned that being associated with the devil might affect his reputation, or how he might be seen by his town minister, who we later learn is also equally corrupt. Again, later, he is concerned that he might be seen by Goody Cloyce, who is actually a good friend and acquaintance of the devil, yet at this point in the story, young Goodman Brown is unwilling to have his reputation besmirched by being seen to associate with such an evil entity. Later, when he takes a break from the devil and the devil goes off on his own, where he seems to be resisting the allure or the pull or the drag of the forest, the dark parts of the forest, he comforts himself that he will not have to shrink from the eye of the old good Deacon Gookin, who, of course, we later learn is equally corrupt. But the interesting point here is he doesn't take pleasure in the fact, in the inherent goodness of resisting the devil. He takes pleasure in the fact that his reputation will benefit from this. He's performing goodness rather than appreciating goodness for its own inherent value. So at this point in the story, it's pretty clear that the way that Hawthorne is developing this character is he's trying to show him as being very interested in seeming good, protecting the reputation of his people, the Puritans, who at the time, well, maybe a couple generations before this story was written, were a very powerful, influential group in Massachusetts Bay Colony, and they were very concerned with the world seeing them as the elect of God, as being the most righteous people on earth. So let's take a look at how Hawthorne destabilizes this. Let's return to the quote where young Goodman Brown is talking about his father. He says, "My father never went into the woods on such an errand, nor his father before him. We have been a race of honest men and good Christians since the days of the martyrs. And shall I be the first of that name, Brown, that ever took this path and kept..." And then he gets cut off there. It's ironic not only because his father has entered the woods and has taken part in these dark sacraments, but this allusion to the days of the martyrs stood out to me. A quick search on Wikipedia will show that this refers to the religious persecution of Quakers in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. I encourage you to look this up and take a look for yourself, but essentially it results in the hanging of Mary Dyer for not being a Puritan. She was executed due to religious persecution by this very high, noble, quote-unquote, righteous group. This is also directly referenced in the following paragraph when they talk about the Quaker woman being persecuted in the streets of Salem. Again, a performance of righteousness above other types of people. And then again in the war, King Philip's War, in which Indians fought with Puritans against Indians, and it was a bloody, violent conflict. But considering that the Puritans were mixed in with this conflict between the supposedly devilish Indians, shows that the boundary that the Puritans like to keep between their holiness and the savage wild men isn't as stable as they like to believe, or at least show the world. Later during the ceremony, Faith, young Goodman Brown's wife, is brought out between Martha Carrier and Goody Cloyce. Goody Cloyce, a very good standing Puritan in the community, somebody who actually teaches and counsels the young ones. And Martha Carrier, who was accused of being a witch and hung by the Puritans a couple generations before Hawthorne, a couple generations before this story was written. So in a sense, his faith in his Puritan nobleness or religious righteousness is caught between somebody of that religion and somebody who was directly persecuted and put to death because of not being seen to totally conform with that religion. And why this might all matter comes with a quick reference when the narrator is talking about all the secret dark desires or deeds of the people, regardless of the religious mask that they might wear. It does mention how the sweet ones, the maidens, have dug little graves in the garden and bidden me, the sole guest, to an infant's funeral. So this shows that this belief and this desperate desire to protect one's reputation in the face of this religious morality can lead to some pretty dire consequences. It can be repressive sexually, but it can also force women to make difficult decisions in order to maintain that reputation. Okay, I hope that was helpful and that you enjoyed it. This is just my reading of the story. I'm interested in hearing your readings of the fiction that is coming up, but do keep in mind that this level of close reading and noticing patterns and things like that does occur only with multiple reads of a text and very close annotation. So I want you to practice those skills. We're going about a short story a week, so we should have time to really delve into the story and take a really close look at the details, okay? Keep up the great work, and I look forward to seeing your work online. Okay, have a good day.